People of African descent are high achievers and exist all over the world, sometimes in unexpected places and high positions, making positive contributions. In the spirit of recognition, we celebrate the most influential people of African descent in the MIPAD Global Reckoning Edition, where we showcase outstanding personalities at the highest positions in the largest, most influential and iconic institutions in the world, because our representation matters on the decision-making tables in politics and governance, business and entrepreneurship, media and culture, and humanitarian endeavors worldwide. Don't miss the MIPAD Recognition Week following the opening of the annual United Nations General Assembly to see who made the most influential 100 global list.
Greetings, everyone from all over the world. My name is Tokwe Essa. I am the COO of MIPAD and the executive producer for tonight's event. I want to personally welcome you to the 2020 MIPAD recognition ceremony. And normally we'll be in New York physically attending all the different events, but because of the global pandemic, and like everything else around the world now, we are going virtual. But the party must go on. And speaking about party, don't forget to stick around after the ceremony for the after party that promises to be a whole lot of fun. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to your host for tonight, Miss Priscilla Kanko and Mr. Lloyd Randall. Thank you and welcome. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much for having us tonight, or this evening, or this morning, based on when you're based. My name is Priscilla Kunku Hoveiram. I'm the founder, along with 5 other Black and Afro-Iranians, of the Collective for Black Iranians. And it's an honor to be here tonight co-hosting with Lloyd Randall from China for the recognition and award ceremony. I would like to start with a story, if you allow me, in the tradition of our ancestors from Africa, a story about Khizran. Khizran was born around 1834 near Zanzibar, an island, as you know, off of Tanzania. Unfortunately, when she was 13 years old, she was trafficked into the Persian Gulf slave trade and sold to a merchant, Kamal, in Iran. Khizran saw her life as a servant to a family she didn't choose. Her name was changed, her citizenship changed, and her whole life changed. And yet her story is not known to the world. The existence of Afro-Iranians and Black Iranians is not known to other fellow Africans or other fellow Black individuals from across the diaspora. And this is why we're here tonight, to let you know that the diaspora is far beyond your imagination. All the way in Iran, I could speak with you right now in Farsi and greet you. At the same time, I can connect with you through my Blackness and my African identity. We're at the intersection of all these ancient civilizations, and it is an honor for me to be able to share it with you and also listen to your journeys and your lessons and grow from it, hopefully. I would like to pass it on to my co-host, Lloyd, who's joining us from China.
What an amazing introduction there, Priscilla. Thank you very much. My name is
Thank you.
My name is Lloyd Randall. I'm based out here in Beijing. What an introduction by my sister Priscilla. She made some very good points there just to show you how diverse this community is. Before I get into what I want to get into today, I just want to go back a little bit in time. Obviously, if you see my name on the screen, you're thinking, this guy is from Sierra Leone, he's African. Why does he have this very peculiar Eurocentric names? Godfrey Lloyd Randall. Now, it's very important for me to make this point today because obviously my name is very unique because I belong to a very unique ethnicity, which is the Creole people from Sierra Leone. Now, back in history, my people were taken across the Atlantic Ocean and they were slaves in the West. So after the abolition of the slave trade, some African people, some came back to the UK, some went back to Sierra Leone, some went to Liberia. So my people came back from there to Sierra Leone, and which is why I have these very unique names as in Lloyd Randall. So that shows you I'm connected to my brothers in the Caribbean, my brothers my African-American brothers, my brothers in the UK, because we share this very common history. Now, Recognition Week is very important because it shows as Black people were making strides around the world, when in different areas, like Priscilla says, she's out there in Iran. I'll give a very brief synopsis of what I'm doing here in China. In China, the Black community is gradually increasing in number, and we're happy about that. I'm always trying to be involved and engage in the community. I've been very fortunate enough to do documentaries in China. I'm always around Black events in China. Wherever there's a Black event, Lloyd Randall is there to make sure I support, because at the end of the day, we can only support each other. I was able to do a few documentaries here, and during the COVID-19, when things were really bad, I was doing a program sensitizing people out there in Africa so they can stay safe and be healthy. The most important thing is we have to remember that as Black people of African descent, we need to come together and build this unity, because together we can help each other. When we are united, that's where we are at our strongest. And I believe that what we've learned in the last 2 days in all the sessions we've had, I think has been a very beautiful thing. I myself, there are things I had no idea about, but I've learned so much over the period of time. So many powerful speakers, great speakers, people that pass on knowledge. And this has really put me in a very good stead. So I'm so privileged and honored today to be one of your co-hosts as we have a recognition and award ceremony. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. And without any further ado, we'll now continue with a presentation from the High Commissioner, Michelle Bachelet.
Yeah, she's a very remarkable individual. I mean, all what she's gone through together in life, being president of Chile, and she has been at the forefront fighting for human rights, women's issues, everything that has to push the culture forward. She's been there. I think it's very fitting that she'll be the first person we feature in the recognition award ceremony, because talk about being a president, human rights leader. So we're just honored to have her in our presence today. Please let's welcome Michelle Bachelet, the Human Rights High Commissioner.
Distinguished guests and friends, I am pleased to join you today at the opening of the most influential 100th Recognition Week organized by MIPAD. First of all, congratulations to the latest group of MIPAD honorees who are being recognized for their contributions to society in diverse fields. I'm pleased that the honorees are young activists, Africans and people of African descent from around the world. I'm also happy to learn that the 2019 OHCHR Fellows of African Descent are also among the honorees. The organization of this Recognition Week directly falls into one of the 3 themes of the International Decade for People of African Descent: recognition, justice, and development. As we approach the midterm of the International Decade for People of African Descent, we will need to do much more to build upon achievements so far. Collective mobilization for social impact, led by a global network of influencers such as yourself, is much needed today. The global anti-racism protests this year have made it clear that communities must be able to stand up against racism and racial discrimination, participate in shaping decisions that affect them, and be able to air their grievances. Through this message, I therefore encourage all of you to contribute to the promotion of the International Decade within your respective countries and communities. Among other issues, the program of activities of the International Decade for People of African Descent calls for awareness raising through information and education, with a view to restoring the dignity of people of African descent. I'm sure you can all contribute to that. Please do not hesitate to reach out to my office for more information on various learning and support opportunities in this regard. I thank MIPAD for organizing this event and wish you all success in your endeavors.
Thank you, Lloyd. We just managed to unmute ourselves at the same time. Thank you so much for this inspiring video, everyone. I think it has been, for the past couple days for me, and I know for many other ones here today with us, a truly inspiring journey in learning from one another on how are we shifting cultural narratives to ensure that it represents who we are, not only in our actuality and our contemporariness, but also in our history, through the history of our ancestors, but also through the intersection of the history of different ancestors from around the world. And it is an honor for me to introduce you tonight to Yonita Ju, the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at CNN, thank you very much, who will be our guest speaker, also the Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for Warner Media News and Sport, that is a parent company of CNN. Thank you so much, Anita, for being with us tonight. It's an honor to introduce you to everyone and have you share some of your incredible work with us.
You've been here so many times now. Why is it so important to come back?
We have to remind people of the changes that we've made and changes we still must make.
John Lewis, rest in peace. Amen.
To cover the world, we must reflect the world.
Across all screens
and behind the scenes.
The proudest I've been of CNN's commitment to diversity is right now.
Diversity is a strength.
It establishes credibility with our audience.
In part because of who is telling the story.
Generations have risked their lives not for special rights, but for equal rights.
It's news rooted in authentic experiences.
Welcome to my home.
¿Y si va, podría reunirse con el presidente Trump?
No. It is people from all walks of life.
Mindful of how complex our world is.
Everyday discrimination, it all adds up.
For some of us, it's not just a story.
Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met.
We live it.
The president says about Congressman Cummings' district that no human would want to live there. You know who did, Mr. President? I did.
2020 means a reckoning. It is time to learn and understand each other.
Policing, representation, history.
We are in Minneapolis.
Their lives matter.
America as an idea is transitioning to America as a reality.
Non-Black people finally get what Black people have been trying to say for decades.
And if not now, when?
Omar Jimenez taught everyone a lesson.
Do you mind telling me why I'm under arrest, sir?
When being denied your rights, you don't stop being yourself.
Come on.
Is there anything that you would like to say to the Floyd family talking to Don Lemon? He took his hat off. He wanted to make sure to be respectful.
This pandemic pulled a curtain off of a lot of pain.
People pegging this virus on a whole race. Is that to be believed?
Has it affected you?
To cover the world truthfully, we must reflect the world.
Trust comes from listening as much as it comes from speaking.
This is the first time many of us feel truly heard. And it gives us hope.
Wow, what a powerful video.
Amazing. And we need to do, she's been in the forefront of this fight for equality, human rights. She wears so many hats. She's involved in law, in media, diversity. So talking about a distinguished individual to have in our presence today, I think her resume speaks for itself. So Mr. Camille, the CEO, would have a very brief dialogue with her, and we'll take a listen to what they have to say.
And thank you so much. And Mr. Camille, I don't know if you want me to make my remarks first.
Yeah, you go first.
And I just want to say to everybody, Camille, to Lloyd, to Priscilla, there's such a sense of brotherhood and sisterhood here this afternoon or this evening or night, wherever you are in the time zones. And so it's my great honor to be here today. It's really an honor of a lifetime to be here to represent CNN and Warner Media News and Sports at this such a pivotal and transformational time for Black people in the United States and around the world. You know, many people are asking whether we are in the midst of a moment or a movement in this struggle for social justice. And in the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd in May and of so many people before and after him at the hands of law enforcement, I wrote a note to our employees acknowledging that many of us might not be in a good headspace or soul space. I acknowledge that our souls felt broken, just as the soul of our country felt broken. But I said, we're not helpless. We're not helpless because we can use the power of our voices and our platforms to tell these stories. Ida B. Wells was an early leader of the civil rights movement and an investigative journalist and a role model of mine. And she once said, "The way to right wrongs is to shine the light of truth upon them." So I want to take a moment for us to look back so we can understand how the media has always played that crucial role in advancing social justice. Because if you think about it, the news media, particularly television news, came of age during the civil rights movement of the United States. There's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who wrote the book Make No Law, and he said during that time, and I'll read this quote, "The belief by civil rights leaders that nonviolent resistance could overthrow white supremacy was premised on the existence of an audience, the American public, whose conscience could be aroused and outraged. And that belief in turn depended on a press that would tell the story." And so the news media rose to the occasion time and time again, rousing America's conscience and spurring it to action by covering seminal events like the Montgomery bus boycott stemming from Rosa Parks' refusal in 1955 to give up her seat, the student sit-in movement of 1960 that started in Greensboro and spread across the South, led by all of these young foot soldiers, the 1963 March on Washington, and the subsequent bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church that killed those 4 little girls, and that 1965 march from Selma to Montgomery that turned into Bloody Sunday, where people were battered and bruised, like the late Representative John Lewis, who we just lost. But those images and the media coverage led to great change, like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, like the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And because we had the First Amendment and the protections of the First Amendment, the media was able to tell those stories of the foot soldiers. Now, my mother was one of those foot soldiers, Patricia Stevens, in Tallahassee, Florida. She was the first jail-in of the nation, simply because she was sitting down at a Woolworth's lunch counter, quietly reading a book. She was arrested for riotous conduct. So when she was convicted, she and my aunt, Priscilla Stevens, and 6 others, instead of agreeing to pay that fine, they decided to stay in jail. They were not going to fund segregation. And so she led that first jail-in of the nation, heeding Dr. King's call to fill the jail to win our civil rights. And you know what they did as soon as they were released? The first thing they did, they went on a speaking tour across the nation. And my mom said this in her book, Freedom in the Family. She saw herself as a storyteller and as a witness to injustice. She knew she wasn't only telling the story to the people who came to the events to hear her speak. She was telling it to the countless others who would read or see it in the press. And my dad, by the way, was one of those people who saw her picture in the press and was so motivated to join the freedom movement that was going on in Florida that he's had now 6 decades worth of activism as a freedom lawyer. But let's be clear, it wasn't just the American public whose conscience was awakened. People all over the world responded to what they were seeing in the South. And many, as you know, many African liberation movements were inspired by what was going on in the United States, just as US civil rights leaders and students were inspired by the African liberation movements before them. And Stephanie Busari, who is our supervising producer for CNN Africa, and I know is one of our presenters today, produced a very powerful video commentary about how we are all united in the Black struggle, no matter if we live in countries where we're the so-called minority or if we are the majority. It was the power of the media that prompted Stephanie's conversation with her 9-year-old daughter in Nigeria and made her realize that the burden of oppression and racism and microaggressions reach all of us all around the globe. So we see today why it's more important than ever, right, for the media and companies who own them to give voice to social justice, tell stories that matter, and hold government accountable. And just so you know, in the aftermath of George Floyd's death, the CEO and chairman of AT&T at the time, Randall Stephenson, published a mandate for equitable justice, an open letter to federal, state, and local officials stating that we have failed in our mandate to establish equal justice for Black Americans. Now, Mr. Stephenson was known as one of the most outspoken corporate leaders around Black Lives Matter, even before this current awakening, because in 2016, he had the courage And it sounds strange to say you had to have courage to do this, but as a corporate leader in America, he had the courage at an employee conference to declare Black Lives Matter and tolerance is for cowards. He recognized that it's tolerance and inaction that keeps prejudice and resentment alive and hidden behind this curtain of civility. And in that current mandate for equitable justice, he and AT&T are demonstrating a commitment to try to get support across party lines with police unions, with civil rights groups and other social justice organizations around data transparency about police misconduct, around banning chokeholds, around looking at laws that are protecting law enforcement from being held accountable for their misconduct. And you know, our current CEO of AT&T is on the board that was formed by Randall Stephenson called a Business Roundtable, where the largest CEOs are convening to advance racial equity and justice, and their committees relating to police reform and workforce reentry efforts. And at Warner Media, when John Stankey was the inaugural CEO, he shepherded the first entertainment industry diversity and inclusion production policy, which makes a difference on what we see on air and who is producing the content that we all consume. He's also constituted a powerhouse team of diversity and inclusion expertise led by Christy Halbegger as the Chief Enterprise Inclusion Officer. And they've helped lead our company through this time of racial reckoning. Now, I also want to mention my co-honoree, Pascal Descharos, who is Warner Media's CFO, because it's leaders like him who have been champions for diversity and inclusion, who have been those role models, who've had their seats at the table, who have made a huge difference. And just so you know, AT&T has consistently been ranked amongst the top companies for diversity and inclusion and was #1 on the Diversity Inc. list last year. It's because of efforts like Corey Anthony, AT&T's SVP and Chief Diversity and Development Officer, and another co-honoree, David Huntley, is AT&T's Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer, that AT&T has been able to have such a comprehensive and aggressive approach to advancing social justice. Representation matters, as we say. And listen, content is one of AT&T's pillars of diversity and inclusion. And even though CNN and Warner Media News and Sports are new to the company, we have been living that mission for decades. And as you saw in that prior video, our mission says this is our story. It's our story. Across all screens and behind the scenes, we will develop our people and use our diverse voices to strengthen our content, grow our business, and connect to our evolving audiences and to each other, because we are Warner Media News and Sports. And what does that mean? It means we've realized how important it is as a news organization to rouse the nation's and the world's conscience. This has never been more evident than under the leadership of current President and Chairman Jeff Zucker. He's been relentless in our focus on the dual pandemics that are plaguing our society right now, the health pandemic and the disparate impact of COVID on communities of color because of underlying economic and healthcare and social disparities, as well as this pandemic of racism, explicit and systemic, xenophobia, other forms of social injustice in the United States and around the world. This is so important. It's not only coverage that stories we're gonna cover once in a while, it's stories that we have an ongoing commitment to. And part of the story of the social justice movement is how the sports world, from players to leagues to employees within those organizations and the sports media companies like ours that cover them, how they've galvanized to not only try to change society, but to change corporate America as well. Now we know, right, that athletes have historically taken a public stand or a knee, right, against racism, gender inequality, and other social justice causes, often at great personal risk to themselves, to their endorsement deals, to their continued employment. Think of Colin Kaepernick, and even their freedom. Think of the late, great Muhammad Ali. But from Jackie Robinson's support of the sit-in movement of the early 60s to that Black Power salute during that 1968 Olympics, athletes have challenged that notion that they're only supposed to play and be quiet. But never before have we witnessed what we have all witnessed in the past few months, where we have seen leagues around the world postponing games in solidarity with players in the NBA, after the shooting of Jacob Blake, wearing Black Lives Matter jerseys and other symbolic gestures across all sports, basketball, baseball, hockey, football, that's American and European football, Formula One. It's been amazing. And I want you to take a look at how our company, Turner Sports, led by President Lenny Daniels, has seized this moment to turn it into a movement. If you could play that video.
Yeah. When you take a stand,
you can't stand still.
When you take a stand,
you can't stand still.
At Turner Sports,
we are committed
to advancing the momentum of social justice.
If we say we want change, we have to make change.
We will share stories with purpose,
told by a variety of voices.
We will strive to see,
hear,
reflect,
and respect our fans.
This is our pledge. Because to continue a movement,
you must keep moving.
Matters. And I'm going to quote from Drew Watkins, who is the SVP and creative director for Turner Sports and Bleacher Report, when he put it this way: these past few months have seen us take up that challenge and accept the responsibility to use our platforms and voices to address the hard realities facing our society, the injustices and pain people experience in their workplaces and their homes and in the streets are real. Through our content, we have not turned away or turned it out. We have put it in spotlight. Sports has always been viewed as an escape. Well, now it's part of the antidote. So to continue a movement, you must keep moving. So for those who ask whether this is a moment or a movement and what the role of the media is, remember this: we are activists for truth. We must use the power of our voices and of our storytelling to impact change. I'm proud to be a part of this movement of our lifetimes. This is a movement of our lifetimes. I'm proud to be part of it as a part of the media that is shining the light of truth upon social injustice. I am proud to stand on the shoulders of my mother and father and all of you being honored today in order to impact change. And I encourage all of us to do so as well. We must never stop telling these stories. My mother was fond of saying, stories live forever. Storytellers don't. Listen to the storytellers while you can.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. That was beautiful. And I'm going to ask that we let that settle. Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to have you here. Once again, this is Camille Olufobi. I am privileged to be the CEO and the founder of this group. And I can tell you that when we started this journey with the United Nations, we knew that influence was meaningless as a person of African descent if it wasn't connected to you standing up for the human rights and the civil liberties of people of African descent. So when I watch the videos that you just shared and I listen to you, fast forward to 2020, all of that influence, we now need to bring it forward and stand up together for our people. But before I go any further, I just want to use this opportunity to congratulate you and your colleagues who are here. If you can just please help me acknowledge them. Everybody can see the screen. Can you tell us about David and what he does in the company?
Yes, and I see David right here, so I'd love to have him say a few words. Sorry to put you on the spot, David. Mr. David.
Hi, David. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, he is our Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer for AT&T.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you, everybody. And it is indeed an honor to be here and to be a participant and to be recognized and acknowledged by this organization. This work is so very important, and I think now more than ever that we all must be connected as people of African descent. No matter what it is we do, where we do it, and how we do it, we must maintain that connectivity. I happen to be responsible for making sure that our company, AT&T, complies with all the rules, regulations, and laws wherever we do business. And in addition to that, I have responsibility for privacy. But the point is, I sit at the table. I sit at the table with our CEO, and his direct reports. And it is at this table that I must continue to use my voice for people of African descent. And you can rest assured that I will do that.
Truly, truly privileged to have you here, David. Thank you for that. Just short and powerful words. And I must confess that we have been a group working with the United Nations about the International Decade for People of African Descent. I'm going to launch a poll right now just to ask, did you even know that the United Nations declared the years 2015 till 2024 as the International Decade for People of African Descent? This is something many people didn't know, which is why we exist, is to, support the UN and the global community to know that this decade exists and to leverage that platform to address this issue from a global perspective. And in the last couple of years, our list is really focused on the under 40, so the young in the future, to get them involved in this fight. Now, 2020 changed all of that, which is why we call this edition the Global Reckoning Edition, where the theme is representation matters. So we took it upon ourselves to kind of bring a visual representation to why we're marching. So we decided to take a look at the largest, most iconic and most influential institutions in the world to see where we're present. And I must tell you, I mean, our findings is how we found you, by the way. So I want to have a moment to talk to Jonita for a second. You were one of hundreds of chief diversity officers that we actually sent that email. I just wanted to talk to you just really quickly. What was it like when you got that email from us, this group working with the United Nations Human Rights Office, looking at representation in major corporations around the world? What triggered in your mind?
I thought that it was an incredible honor. I thought that the mission of the organization was something that I could relate to and was very passionate about. My civil rights background. I did intern at the United Nations the Center for Human Rights when I was a while ago, let's just say. I was still in law school. I worked for Elizabeth Stamatopoulos. I mean, she hasn't been there for a while, but I have always been very interested in the connection between civil rights and human rights. And my dad would say that the movement of the 1960s in the States was not a civil rights movement. It was not a movement to be equal with rights. It was a movement for us to raise everybody up to fulfill our human dignity and the promise of
Correct.
humanity. And so I just felt that this organization at this stage in our society across the globe is fulfilling such an important purpose. And I was very moved by the entire outreach and by this recognition as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And I still want to have a conversation with you, but I'm going to bring in one of our partners from since we began this journey with the UN, because every year, like our executive producer said, we're this time of the year, we're actually in the UN building. We're actually in New York with people from all over the world, sometimes from unexpected places, all in New York. And one of my favorite parts of Recognition Week is our leadership training, where we take them through a leadership and personal development training. And we, steadfast in our vision, we made that possible this year in partnership with Momentum Education. And Robinson Lean, who's the executive director, I'm going to ask him to please join this conversation. And the next question I want to ask Jonita and David is about building a community for the people that we found through this research. So let me give you a little context to that. So over the last couple of years, we've started to build a community of all of these young achievers from around the world. And Robinson and his team will facilitate our leadership training and support them with more tools in their toolbox, right, to be the leaders that we ultimately desire. So this year we've gone against all the odds to make it happen virtually. And I just wanted Robinson to just chime in and just give us a sense of what you've seen in terms of the community, because now we need to do that with this over 40 group of people, right? The true decision makers. We need to start to do the things we've done over the years, with them. So Robinson, without further ado, I'd love for you to please join the conversation.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Camille. I've had the pleasure and privilege of being with this year's nominees throughout this weekend and the Discovering Excellence training. And I think what came to me really as you were speaking about this community is that you've really brought together a community of people who are not just hungry for change, but they're hungry for connection with their counterparts around the planet. And I think for so many of them, they're consistently in leadership positions where there's a certain level of loneliness that can be occurring. And so for people to be able to have a space to connect and to be able to lean on each other and the type of support system that you've built around the world is really just phenomenal. So I'm grateful. I would count my participation with MIPAD as one of the great honors of my life. And so just grateful to be included in any way, shape, or form.
All right, so now let's take that conversation to David and Janita and all of the people we're welcoming into the global network in terms of building a community. David and Janita, one of the things, you've had the privilege of looking at the list, Janita, is that right?
Yes.
You've seen the people on the list. And you know, when you are at the levels where you and David are, very high up, the isolation is real. And one of the hopes that we have with this list is that you start to look at it and start realizing that you're not alone globally. And one of the things, David and Janita, that MIPAD does is that we connect people of African descent in the diaspora with their counterparts inside Africa. So when you look at this list, you find people, your counterparts, some of the wealthiest and the most accomplished Africans on the continent are paired with you in the diaspora. So let's have a conversation with you, you know, in terms of supporting you reduce that isolation, and where do you see us going in building a community of this group of people so that we can consolidate our voice so it's stronger and it's more effective. So I'd love to hear from you.
I think that this aspect of your mission is critical. As you said, there are people all over, not just the United States, but countries all over the world in leadership. Often underrepresented, but things are improving with time. Yet having that extra support system where you can expand your mindsets is really important because, you know, as you mentioned, Camille, it seems as if you were researching diversity and inclusion officers potentially around the world. I don't know if you're focused on the US or not, but, you know.
It was global.
Yeah, it was global. And even though experiences are very different because of, you know, the various cultures or countries that you live in, there is a connection. There's a connection and there's an overlap of priorities and an overlap, honestly, of challenges, right? And so I think it's, as I said, I think it's critical to establish this kind of network where we can all learn from each other, understand best practices, more importantly, just be a support system for each other and cheerleaders for each other. I think that's really important. And for those of us who are involved in global organizations, it's important even to sort of expand our networks for our businesses.
Absolutely. Did David get a chance to actually look at the at the publication?
I did.
I wanted to get a sense. Do you know some of the people on that list?
I did, and I think it's critical that we reach out to one another, especially in these times. And I will tell you this: you have but to look at the article that appeared in the New York Times. My brother sent it to me to make sure. I have a brother who's 10 years older. He is my check because it can become very lonely in these positions that we sit in. But he is my he keeps it real with me. So he sent me this article, and it's of the brother who was the head of Credit Suisse. If you saw that article,
yes, we saw that.
It was a very powerful article, but it illustrates what we go through in these quote unquote lofty positions. And so at every turn, I think it's incumbent upon us to reach out, but also to have others reach out to you. We have a tendency to not take help. We have a tendency to always say, you know what, everybody else, they achieved what they achieved, and I have to achieve what I have to achieve on my own. Let me just say, our white counterparts don't do it that way, and we shouldn't either. now more than ever, we should come together. We should be much more supportive, sometimes just to check in with folks who are in positions. And I just have to call out my fellow awardee, and that is Pascal, who's also, I think, on this call. And I have to tell you, he is one of the sharpest brothers and minds that I know in the financial world. And I just, again, it's that kind of community that we have to continue to support. Again,
is Pascal here? It'll be good to hear from him. He was one of the people we reached out to too. Pascal, are you here? It'll be good to hear from you, sir. Okay. All right, but it's really exciting to really have you here and to meet you, and we look forward to building a global support system. My final thought on this is that the problem is global. I have lived and schooled around the world, and even moving to Africa, living here with my children and raising them up on the continent, I realized that we're dealing with a global virus. And one of the ingredients of that vaccine to cure this virus of systemic oppression is reducing the isolation that we feel. So we're in Brazil, 100 million people of African descent live in Brazil, which is the largest Black population, in the world outside of Africa. I just put up a poll there just to ask, did we know that? The fact that we don't even know each other exists in all of these different places or all of these different positions is the number one desire that we have from this list the global reckoning list, that we put out there, is to start to reduce that isolation. And the good news, at least I would share before I get off, is that in March 25th, we're going to bring together this whole community together. And everybody that's on this list, we are going to start to reach out officially and get you involved and organize a recognition week as part of our 4th anniversary of March 25th, which is a UN International Day for the victims of the transatlantic slave trade. So it's a very monumental time of the year for us for the UN and also for us in MIPAD. So I look forward to everyone we have honored and recognized this year to start that journey to build that community. So Robinson, any final thoughts from you before we move on to the next segment?
No, I just think that community, as you said, we did a training earlier today with so many of the honorees, and I think we had at one point around 50 people having a conversation with probably close to over 100 languages represented. And what was so beautiful was that we were able to see all the things that make us unique and all the things that have us still be connected. And so I think this is an organization that really celebrates what makes us unique, but also reminds us of what authentically keeps us connected.
Robinson, is it possible for us to just hear from some of those honorees that you spent the weekend with through the leadership training? Because I want the new community that we're inviting into the group, Janita, David, Pascal, our seniors, to get a sense of what we've been doing with that. So you spent the weekend on our leadership and personal development training. Is there anyone here you want to, there was something remarkable about this class. Do you want to share that? We have 5 more minutes, but go ahead.
I think Leslie Butterfly Soul, one of our facilitators, I think he would be ready to share about the experience and also to ask anyone else to share about their experience as well. And I believe he's present.
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Congratulations to all the honorees, past and present.
Yes.
It was absolutely, this weekend was transformative coming into the weekend. I think by the time we got to the weekend, it was more of what was already occurring. And so what we were really allowed to do was just mirror and reflect leadership with leadership. And so, and looking at that conversation in leadership, we actually had a chance to really be with leaders, not only in the way they contribute to their communities, but really have the opportunity to really own their humanity.
right,
as a part of a global citizen, as a part of global Africa. And so in doing that, we had the chance to really speak to some amazing folks. So I'm going to ask if Dahlia is present and available, if she could just share her experience. Like, what was the experience like for you, Dahlia?
Hello, everyone. So
tell us where you're calling in
on
from.
The spot. So hello, everyone. This is Dahlia. I come from the Commonwealth of Dominica, and I'm based in Beijing. And I have to say that this
China
whole
in the building.
weekend has been just amazing, amazing, amazing. I learned so much from your team at Momentum and also from my fellow honorees. When I came in, the key thing that was behind my mind was learning. How can I learn better? How can I be better, to be a better leader, to be more mindful? And I have to say that through the way that you were doing the experiential learning process, it really just had us learn from each other's experiences to be able to grow from one another. And I have to say that I thank you so much for giving us that opportunity to really just grow with each other. It's just amazing. And I just want to thank you for that.
We're going to hear from you later as one of the recipients of the under 40 category. So thank you so much. And thank you. I know what time is it in Beijing right now?
It's currently 4:57 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And our host, so I want you to picture this. So we have our host. If you noticed, our host for today's event is an Afro-Iranian and a person of African descent who lives and works in China. So this is the breadth and width of the global African diaspora. If you think you know the African diaspora, please visit our YouTube channel so you can see familiar faces in unexpected places. We have our country director from Brazil, Nina Silvia, if you can wave your hand. She's here. She's leading the Black Money movement in Brazil. So it is truly incredible. Janita, we can go around the world just in this room. And we truly, want to give the final word to you before we move into the presentation of the awards, to you, David, and any of the seniors who are here, just to tell us, where do you see us together going forward as a collective? So the young generation and you who are on the decision-making tables, how can we support you? David, how can we support you? What can we do? We're young, we're energetic, we're ready to go. What do you need?
Yeah, the best thing to do is keep your powder dry and stand ready. There was a CEO this past week that said, or week or so, that said he didn't know any talented Black folks. I can't believe a sitting CEO would ever say anything like that.
That's Wells Fargo.
That's Wells Fargo. And so the point that I would make here is that, look, we know that the talent is out there. We just need to be connected, and we need to use our platforms to bring other people into the table. And so these events allow us to have this kind of connectivity, as someone said earlier. And I think that really it's just stay connected. The best thing we can do is stay connected and be ready. John Thompson said it best, former basketball coach who recently died this past year. He said, I don't want the perfect opportunity to be successful. He said, hell, I just want an opportunity to fail. And I think that we all just need an opportunity to fail and not necessarily, let us go, put us in the game, let us do it. And so I think now is our time. I think stand ready. Let's go.
Let's do it. I love it. Janita, final thoughts. How can we support you? How can we be with you?
I love it, David, what you just said. And two things I would add. We need you to challenge us, right?
Okay.
Very endearingly refer to us as the seniors, which means that, we come from a certain generation or mentality. And so we need you to challenge us. We need you to tell us and share, your perspectives and views about how to do things and how to approach things. And it's not only us who's like, imparting wisdom upon you. It's like we're soaking up your wisdom and your energy and your inspiration as well. And then secondly, in terms of the support, I mean, Camille, I wanted to say this earlier, the way you even opened up the prep session, just having people breathe and relax, and in your note today, it's really important. Self-care is really important. And so what I ask of all of you is to make sure that you ensure and do what you need to do so that you're in it for the long haul, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to have a lot of challenges that come our way in society, but just make sure you're taking care of yourselves. And that's as important as being prepared professionally. So take care of yourselves, challenge us, and we're all going to make a huge difference together.
All right. This is the moment we all say amen. All right.
Amen.
You took us to church. Thank you so much. Truly, truly an honor to have you all here, and to the team as well, to the research team. Jonathan, I see you. Shegun, all of our team just putting in the work to find and scout the world for the best and the brightest of our people. And we look forward to building that community with you. So thank you so much. Truly grateful. So let me just get our COO just to say a very important word. What he would tell you is that when the world is ready to be intentional about diversity, we, MIPAD, we're here to support you, because the talent, David, the talent does exist. We know that for a fact. So thank you so much. Tokwe, I want you to just, I know that's your desire for when the world sees the list and the work that we're doing, is that we're here to support, institutions and corporations to, to fill those roles so that representation matters. No more oppression by omission.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
So thank you very much, Camille. I think, and thank you so much, Janita and David as well. I think amazing encouragement. And I love what David said. We got to be ready because, and speaking about the CEO who made that comment, and when I read that comment, and the first thing that came to my mind was, if you keep going to the same places, you're going to keep recruiting the same people. You need to diversify the way you recruit. And that's something that we need to focus on for this next few months and the next year with our work. So I'm totally excited about what's to come. So thank you so much. Thank you, Janita. Thank you, CNN folks. Thank you, David.
So move us on to the next segment. So the next is the presentation of awards. Okay. All right.
Camille, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Oh, I am? Okay.
No, you're on mute. We can hear you. I can hear
you. can hear me? Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Tokwe, tell us, just on the top of the note, the next is for us to acknowledge.
Awards and recognition, Camille. All
right, let's do it. Okay, so tonight I wanted to begin by acknowledging that you cannot pull this off by yourself, right? This is something you can't do by yourself. And we usually have our Hall of Fame awards that we give to outstanding MIPADians. Can everybody see the Hall of Fame awards? All right, so let's begin that section of the ceremony where we're giving our Hall of Fame awards this year to former MIPADians who went over and above to get us access to some of the keynote speakers that we had. So Lila, big thank you to Lila. I can see you all clapping for her. Maria Taylor was our connect to bring on a world leader. Did you know that the Minister of Justice in Portugal is a Black woman? Because of Marion Taylor, who's one of our a friend of the MIPAD network, we were able to reach the Minister of Justice in Portugal. All right, she's the first Black person to be at a cabinet level role in Portugal. And of course, last night at the reunion, Vusi, who needs really no introduction, he's the most followed individual on the African continent on LinkedIn. Phenomenal MIPADian. He's been a great source of inspiration to the network, and this year he gets a Hall of Fame Award 2020 for his continued contribution to supporting us to build a very strong collective. Vusi, we love you if you're here. And of course, Black is King. Can I get an amen to Black is King? Beyonce has been an honoree in the past, but this year we had to acknowledge the Beyonce, the cast, the directors, and the artists that were all featured in Black is King. Big ups to them. And also we moved to Europe to a group. It's a musical group, Soul System in Italy, that we also want to acknowledge for what they're doing. If you know, a lot of migrants who go through issues from Africa who go into Italy, and we wanted to acknowledge that. And also, if on the call, Tosin Joel now would be working with us as a country director for Italy. So thank you. She's one of the MIPADians nominees who went through the training this weekend, and she was raving about it. So good work to you in Italy and what you continue to do out there. The next couple of Hall of Fames go to human rights organizations who have been on the front line since the whole Black Lives Matters movement took a whole nother level this year in 2020. Black Lives Matters, the European Network Against Racism is another organization that we need to acknowledge. Enough is Enough in Nigeria. Remember, one of the things we do at MIPAD is that we connect people in the diaspora with their counterparts inside Africa. So Enough is Enough is a human rights organization here on the continent who is pushing the office of the citizen, as a priority. So we matter. Black Lives Matters not only in the diaspora but also on the continent. And of course, the U.S. Human Rights Network. And now we move into some of our partners and some business partners that we want to acknowledge. Africa.com. Teresa Clark, she's going to be presenting an award later today, for 10 years of doing what you do. Thank you so much. Momentum Education, thank you so much for what you continue to do for this network and building this community. We love you. We appreciate you. And of course, to our 2020, now this goes to the class of 2020, just to acknowledge some outstanding MIPADians. And I'm going to start with Joanna LeBlanc, who's based in Washington, D.C., who's originally from Haiti. She was one of the moderators for the World Leaders Session. So we had a session at the opening ceremony to hear from our leaders, our world leaders, to talk to us during this time and to inspire us. Thank you for supporting us with putting that together. And also your co-moderator, Renee from Brazil, who works with CNN in Brazil. Thank you so much. CNN globally seems to be truly active and on the front lines of this. Stephanie Bussari, CNN Africa, is also going to be joining us later tonight, presenting an award. So lots of love. Janita, you must be doing something right. Thank you so much. All right, and another MIPADian class of 2020, Abiola Salami, thank you so much. You were also part of the training. You did a lot going over and beyond, and that's what the Hall of Fame is. And lastly, I'm going to close with this group. This is the UN OHCHR Fellows. This is a group of people of African descent chosen from all over the world to spend 3 months in Geneva in partnership with the United Nations to learn more about the International Decade. So every year we automatically make that cohort group into MIPADians. So welcome into the MIPAD family. It's very excited to have you all here. If you're all here, big ups to everybody. And that we still have co-founders of the BYP network, which is a professional network that we're recognizing under the Teamwork Makes the Dream Work category, co-founders. And we're also recognizing another group in the US who's also a community of high achieving Black people for the co-founders. Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. And the final one is from Brazil. Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. Two sisters, Betty and Brenda, who work together doing some great work out in Brazil. All right, so that's for me, the special acknowledgement.
Thank you so much, Camille. Thank you so much. Can you all hear us? Perfect. Thank you so much for all the inspiration from CNN to China to everywhere in the world. In the words of Chinua Achebe, until the lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. And I think I thought about that quote and that proverb in the last 3 days, at least 100 million times, listening to every single one of you, and how powerful it is to see how we're all individually and collectively writing our existence into reality. So we will now move to the next segment of Global Reckoning, and it is an honor for me to introduce you to Kojo Annan, who will present the Global Politics and Governance Award. Kojo Annan is an entrepreneur investor who is also the son of the late Kofi Annan. Kojo Annan, if you're around, please, on to you.
Yeah, Kojo, are you on? I saw him earlier. Yes, he is.
I did as well.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
we
thank
can.
you.
Good.
Is the video on? Sorry.
No, we can. Okay, now we see you.
Can you see? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so thank you very much for having me on. My name is Kojo Annan. Like I said, I'm from Ghana and also from Nigeria. I'm a global advisor to MIPAD, an entrepreneur and investor. It's a great honor to be introducing this incredible list of achievers. I think as the leaders in global politics and governance, I think they lay the foundation on which all the other panels can thrive to their full potential. I just want to say it was really inspiring listening to all the other speakers and to see MIPAD growing and growing from strength to strength, and to see the global Africans coming together in such a forceful way. Thank you, Camille. And here are the honorees.
Thank you very much. Now, this year, as we mentioned, we looked at the largest, most iconic, most influential institutions in the world in the 4 MIPAD categories. And the next group, the very first group, is a global politics and governance. And we looked at global institutions and regional governance institutions from the World Bank to cabinet level. This is mostly cabinet level, to CARIBCOM. In Colombia, we have 2 ministers who are at cabinet level. The Vice President of Costa Rica, who spoke to us on Friday at the opening ceremony. We looked inside Africa at a Nobel Prize winner. We looked at FIFA. We looked at the United Nations, of course. And if you follow what's going on at the UN, we have 2 UN permanent reps from Nigeria and South Africa who are at the highest levels of the UN system. Ambassador Tijani was with us last year at the UN. He was the president of the 74th UN General Assembly. Ambassador Jerry, who I met in New York, is sitting on the Security Council, which is a big deal. And of course, the second most important person at the UN is Amina Mohammed, who's also of African descent.
Camille, are you still here?
I think he's
We've lost sound.
So, okay.
So congratulations to all the winners. It's a very important category. Politics and governance is very important, especially in this very troubling times that we're in as a community. Governance is very important, and so is politics. Now for our next category, I mean, I'm so honored to introduce this lady. Talk about somebody who has been around the world, done things, amazing things. She started off as an investment banker. She graduated from a class, cum laude economics, Harvard College. And the thing I like about her is when she says, I was at Goldman Sachs, I was the managing director, but the most fulfilling thing I have done is going to South Africa and improving education and the lives of people. So ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Teresa Clark. I mean, talk about somebody of the highest reputation in this community. I'm just so honored and privileged to present her to us today because she is an icon and a beacon of hope for all of us here in this community. Teresa Clark.
Oh, Lloyd, thank you for those very kind words. You're very kind, and I'm humbled. It's me who's honored to be here today and to participate with you and all of those who are here today. As has been introduced, my job is Chairman and CEO of Africa.com. And I've been asked to tell you what MIPAD means to me. MIPAD, first and foremost, means a person to me, and that person is Camille. And while we've been privileged to receive an award today, I feel like I must return that favor and give the award back to Camille for what he has done this year and all the years in the history of MIPAD, for having conceived of this and for being able to execute. We had some more in-depth discussions this year, and I came to understand MIPAD a bit more. And I realized just how able he is able to generate a lot of goodwill and volunteer activity. And so what I really want to say is, for all of the corporates, for any investors or anybody on this call who has an appreciation for the work, I hope that we can come together as a community to support MIPAD financially and make sure that sponsorships are in place so that this very important effort is sustainable. And so I salute you, Camille, for all that you do, because this is incredibly important work.
Thank you. Love you too.
I'd like to, you asked me, what does MIPAD mean? What does the diaspora mean? And I think that I give tribute to those people amongst us who help us see the world through a different lens. I think that for many years, we are influenced by media, and the point that was the Chinua Achebe quote that was just made, until the lion tells a story, the hunter will always be the victor. And I think about Brian Stevenson, I think about Ava DuVernay, I think about the new book that just came out by Isabel Wilkerson Cast, that help us to understand what being Black means through different lenses. And I think about how these people make us realize that, historic maps of the world that show Africa smaller than it actually is another lens through which we are influenced. So when we talk about being minorities, for example, when I first moved to South Africa and I would see white Americans or Black Americans or just Americans coming to South Africa and say they were coming to help the minorities, and it took them a minute to recognize that in South Africa, Blacks are the majority. I want to just put some numbers out there from a global perspective that I think are empowering and help us to think about this issue of, we talked about how we all have to get together and support each other. Well, we do, but let's just remember that we're not the small numbers that others would lead us to believe that we are. If we have a global population of 7.8 billion people, and please give me license of 1 or 2 percentage points off here a little bit, I just did some calculations to see, what percentage are we? In a 7.8 billion person world, Europe has 750 million, so represents 10%. Latin America has 650 million, represents 8%. The US has 350 million and represents 4%. Asia has 60% of the world with 4.6 billion. And we as Africa are the second largest with 1.3 billion, or 16%, making us the second largest group if we think about it in those terms. So that's a very empowering way to start thinking about ourselves, not as a small percentage, but as the second largest population group in the world. And just one other lens through which I'd like to think about it is the fact that this organization, MIPAD, celebrates the diaspora of 200 million people of African descent around the world. Where are those people? And as was referenced earlier today, Brazil has 82 million. and the US has 46 million. It's kind of interesting to compare that to the fact that Germany is a country with 84 million. So just the Black people in Brazil alone are equal to the population of Germany. Or the fact that France's population is 65 million, UK 68, Spain 46. That's 46 in Spain is equal to the Black population of the United States. So when we start to think about how powerful our numbers are in these terms through this lens, I think it makes us recognize how important this work is, that we're connected and that we understand that and we feel and know the strength that we have as the diaspora. So with that, I've been asked to introduce the Global Business and Entrepreneurship Awards. So again, a wonderful group of people that has been highly curated by Camille and MIPAD, and I salute you for recognizing the following individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. It's always good to hear from you. And here are the finalists in the global business. This is the senior, like I said, the over 40 list. And it was truly remarkable, our findings this year. One of the research team, Jonathan, you're on the call. I wanted you to just chime in really quickly and just share with us briefly what your experience was working on this research as a young Black male in school in the United Kingdom, looking at the world and looking at people of African descent in global business. Jonathan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Camille. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say I'm on the research team, so I did all of the research, a lot of the research into these people of African descent in the highest places in these companies, and it was astonishing to me. It was the lack of representation was astonishing. So, for example, in the US, we take up 13.4% of the population, but in the C-suite, only 3.2% of the population in the highest places of these organizations are taken up by Black people. So to me, as a young person, it represents the lack of opportunity that we get. And it's scary, to be honest, but I'm glad that we have MIPAD, which brings together people from across the world, and it helps us to share our perspectives and share our struggles and make it easier for people like me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that word. I'm going to hand it over to you, to the studio, to show us the video for the under 40 list.
Thank you so much, Camille. So should we move on to the next segment of the Global Media and Entertainment Award, presented by Stephanie Bussari from CNN Africa, but also who has done incredible, important work for the Bring Back Our Girls advocacy campaign. Stephanie, if you're with us, could you please introduce the Global Media and Entertainment Award to everyone? Thank you.
I'm not sure Stephanie's on. Stephanie, are you in?
Ilwine, could you please step in for Stephanie?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's cue in the video. The studio, please cue in the video. Thank you very much for that. I see, Renee, you're clapping. Let me use this opportunity to actually talk about Brazil. So Renee works for CNN in Brazil, and our country director from Brazil, Nina, you're there. I'm going to ask that we talk about Brazil. There's a feedback there.
Yeah,
so
I'm
let's
here.
hear from you. All right, good.
Yeah,
Nina.
I'm here. Nina is here. Yeah. Oh,
Tell
I'm
us.
so proud of all Brazilians on the list. Okay, I'm really happy. People said about how this important of Brazil for diaspora and Africa, because we are the second country in number of Black population in the world. And we have on the list Renan. Renan is an editor of CNN. We have Érica Malunguinho. Érica Malunguinho is the deputy and educator in São Paulo, first transgender in this position on the state. We have Alan Soares, my co-founder in Black Money Movement, that work with education, communication, and financial service for Black people. We have the Samantha Almeida. She's a head in a Twitter Next in Brazil. It's in a communication position. We have the singers, Isa and Léo Santana, two singers that have millions of followers in their social media channels and the concert audience. And the sister Brenda Agi and Beth Agi, founders of NGO International Compassion that works with humanitarian actions in health, education, and social service in several countries. The Paulo Paim, the beginning of our ceremony. I'm really happy to have this list because it's about people that is working with social impact for our community. And we have Ingrid Silva too. I'm so sorry. Ingrid Silva, she is a ballet dancer and activist. And congratulations for all the list.
I want you to speak to people of African descent in Brazil in Portuguese and to people of African descent in Africa in Portuguese. Go ahead, you have a minute.
Yeah! Meus amados, meus irmãos africanos na diáspora e africanos em Motherland, obrigada pela conexão. É muito importante para mim ser a representante brasileira de um povo, de um legado tão positivo de resistência e transgressão. A gente precisa se entender enquanto único povo, poder se conectar com tantos países e ainda poder gerar impacto a partir do nosso trabalho. Então, parabéns para cada um de vocês. Moçambique, Cabo Verde, Angola, Brasil, Trinidad e Tobago e vários outros lugares onde a gente tem. In China, nós temos uma grande colônia. We have a big colony in China too. Eu sou grata pela família MIPAD. I'm so powerful. It's my first time in my MIPAD family in recognition
Every
week.
year, Nina actually comes to New York City with the delegation from Brazil. So we love you. We thank you. Obrigado. Thank you so much for what you do, and we're grateful for it. All right, COO, executive producer, move us on. What's the next category?
Obrigado to Nina Silva. She brought all the energy, and congratulations to all those who won and were nominated. I love Portuguese so much because there's this girl in our studio. She's the Portuguese anchor. Every time I walk in, I'm like, you sound beautiful, you know, and she's so confident. And Nina Silva has that same energy and spirit. So congratulations. I'm just happy being here, meeting all these people, Iran, Brazil, United States, around the world. Man, just the camaraderie itself, that just speaks volumes. So congratulations to all of you guys. We're going to move on now to a very important section as well, which is the global humanitarian category, and it will be presented by Bishop Will Malcolm, who is also a patron of MIPAD.
Yes, Bishop is dialing in from the UK, from the United Kingdom. Bishop, are you on, please?
Here comes the Bishop.
All right. Here's what we'll do. Can you please cue that video? Now, this is the humanitarian category. So we have 2 acceptance speeches for this category. But let me ask, it looked like we needed to have Dakore and Stephanie Busari. There was a category there, I think we skipped, the entertainment. Is Dakore here?
I think that's for the under 40s, I think.
Yeah, that's
yes,
the
there
under
is
40.
there is global media entertainment,
Okay, got it.
but Stephanie Busari is apparently sick.
Okay, on the
out
global.
sick.
Okay. Oh, you got the message she was sick? Okay.
I
All
just
right.
got
Sorry
it.
about that. Okay. All right. So the next category was the global governance, and who's taken that? The global humanitarian category. Who's taken that?
You are.
So for the
Okay, because Bishop is not here. Okay, good. All right, so I will share just share my screen. So this category we looked. Can everybody see my screen, please?
Yes.
All right, good. So the Global Humanitarian Endowment and Monarchs and Religious category for this year, the British royal family welcomed the Duchess of Sussex into it. The Ford Foundation, which is one of the largest, humanitarian organizations out there. The CEO is a person of African descent. At Harvard University, some of the biggest endowments. We looked at Mo Ibrahim Foundation, Princeton University, Tony Elumelu Foundation for the great work that he's doing on the continent with the empowerment of entrepreneurs. The Vatican has, at the highest levels at the Vatican, we do have one person of African descent. So this is on the global level, the over 40 list. Now, the studio, if you can, just one more time, just let's have the video. Thank you. All right, so Priscilla, I think we move on to the next categories now, the under 40 category.
Yes, we can move on under 40 categories for the Politics and Governance Award presented by Justin Hansford, the Executive Director of Thurgood Marshall Center for Civil Rights and Law Professor at Howard University.
Yeah, Justin, you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Fantastic.
Wonderful, on to you.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, thanks again for inviting me, Camille, and I am so happy to be a part of this celebration. As you mentioned, I'm a law professor at Howard University. I also run our Thurgood Marshall Civil Rights Center. Thurgood Marshall was the first African-American Supreme Court Justice and an alumnus of our illustrious Howard University, the largest historically Black college in the United States. And I always want to give HU all the props that it deserves. Of course, our Black Panther is another alum, Chadwick Boseman, and so many others. First of all, I just want to say what MIPAD means to me is the opportunity for global unity for people of African descent. We have that at Howard University on our campus, over 10,000 students in our School of Business, in our School of Law, and our School of Medicine. We're helping to create the next generation of MIPADians. And I hope many of you will engage Howard graduates in your businesses and your companies. Also, specifically for me, as someone who works in the field of human rights and civil rights, it's so wonderful to have the opportunity to talk to my sisters and brothers who have the possibility of uniting on similar causes. Our major issues that we address at the Thurgood Marshall Center include police brutality, Black Lives Matter, mass incarceration, and reparations. As you know, at the UN Security Council meetings or the General Assembly meetings only a week ago, reparations came up once again, whether it was from countries as diverse as Barbados or countries like the Congo, or of course the United States itself, questions of police violence and reparations for colonialism in addition to enslavement are on the table. And that is an opportunity for us to gain assets that will help us to rebuild our nations and our communities after we had so much stolen from us by those.
Absolutely. Justin, can you talk about your program with Harvard University, the Justice League? I think that's very important.
Right. So we have a program. I'll drop a link in the chat shortly, but we have a program called the Justice Initiative that we have launched just yesterday with Harvard University Law School. And in that program, we are exposing people from around the world to free education in terms of how to be an advocate for movements such as Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, and all of the important movements that we have that are not just domestic, but global movements. And we hope to train future lawyers and attorneys and we also hope to create a community of people who are of like mind to work together. So Harvard is a good partner for Howard. We have so many connections, and we consider ourselves at Howard sort of the Harvard of the HBCU, historically Black college and university network. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But you know, it's been such a difficult year for politics and governance in the United States, as you know. But, you know, in spite of that, I believe that the Black community as a whole around the world will be central to any solutions that we have as 2020 ends and we put the crises from 2020 behind us. After November,
Amen.
Move to a new, more sunny, more optimistic 2021, new leadership perhaps, and new vistas of possibility. So I'm looking forward to working with you all as we expand.
And Justin, you know, this is solidarity from around the world, right? We're not alone as Black Americans, you know, Afro-Brazilians are here, Blacks, Afro-Iranians, you know, in China. I mean, we're everywhere in the world, and the solidarity is together, right? Because we have to speak collectively. I mean, more than any time in our lifetime, there's a global pull to come together and rise up against this. And there's a visual I keep having in my mind that the world systems are collapsing, right? And we traditionally have been at the bottom. So the weight of that is going to be very heavy on us. So we have one or two choices. We can either rise to the occasion or crumble under that weight. So
that's right.
I'm saying we go for, we stand up, and that's what this community represents. So go ahead and present the category.
Well, so it's my great pleasure to present the category of politics and governance for the under 40 list of MIPAD high achievers of African descent.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I can hear the clap from around the world. Thank you. All right, Priscilla, over to you.
Yeah, we would like to congratulate those guys because governance is very important, and it's so fitting because now I'm doing this work in the media, but I was once in medical school for a year until I changed course. And one of my classmates in medical school, he went on to Harvard, and he's now the Minister of Education in Sierra Leone. He's one of the youngest ministers, and he's making systemic changes. And we need people. It's not just in governance. We need the right people in the right place with the right mentality to push things forward. And it's so funny because there are two of my classmates. One I met in university, the other one I met in high school. And the anti-corruption czar in Sierra Leone right now, rooting out corruption, is fighting so hard to change the entire system. A lawyer like Justin himself. And I'm so proud of those two guys, both ministers, just moving the conversation forward and changing things completely in Sierra Leone, both under 40. And that just gives me so much hope because Africa and the rest of the world, diaspora and MIPAD, I think we have a very bright future.
I mean, we have the First Lady of Sierra Leone was with us yesterday.
Yes.
She's an honoree. She was a valedictorian for her class 2018. She spoke at the UN. We watched Black Panther with world leaders at the United Nations. And, Chadwick Boseman is linked to Sierra Leone. So it was really, emotional for the president and the First Lady of Sierra Leone to be there to watch that screening at the United Nations together. She talked about, how heartbreaking it was for him to pass.
Right.
So you're right. So when you look at MIPAD, we have 4 categories. So politics and governance, business and entrepreneurship, media and culture, and humanitarian and religious. And these 4 corners need to come together. So that's why our group is a very dynamic group. So talking about the next category, which is who's presenting that?
It's gonna be for business business, and it's gonna be done by Elion Barry, the CEO of African Media Agency. Business is very important because we need to create and own our own business.
Economic wealth,
that is
Black
very
ownership.
integral. Right.
Absolutely. Is Elion here? Ellie.
Hello. Hello, Camille. Hello, everybody. Thank
Hi.
you so much for having me present today. It's a real honor. Teresa said it really well. I really want to salute you, Camille, for the job you're doing, for never giving up, for coming with this amazing vision that makes so much sense now, and for giving me a family. I've been hopping from one place to another. I have a complicated family background, and I realized that being of African descent has no limit. And as you showed us, having some brothers and sisters all around the world, being so many, seeing so many different mixes, understanding that we're all in this together. I know it sounds like a cheesy sentence to say, especially when we're going through a year of COVID. But this has really given me a lot of hope. It has also given me a lot of opportunities. And I'm very, very grateful for you. Entrepreneurship and business is the foundation of, I think, our continent. This is what builds us. We see so many new businesses starting all around the corner of our beautiful continent and outside, obviously. And I'm really happy to be presenting this list of honorees. So I would like to present and to congratulate all the honorees, the high achievers of African descent, for the business and entrepreneurship under 40.
Thank you very much. A global clap. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elohim, and thank you, Lloyd, for this excellent introduction. We are now moving on to the media and culture category, which is really dear to my heart, like all categories. But as a person of, as a Black Iranian, where we have close to no representation in the media, where even in people's consciousness, Blackness is not a part of Iranianness, even though it fully is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing in front of you tonight. And tonight, we have Dakore Akande, actor and humanitarian, introducing the Media and Culture Award. So welcome me in introducing the incredible Dakore Akande. I've seen most of her films after living in Nigeria. So it is an incredible honor for me to introduce her tonight.
Hello.
Hello to my brothers and sisters all over the world of African descent. I'm so honored to be here tonight. I'm one of you, even though I've been a little quiet on the group. My life is so crazy, but I'm really honored to be here tonight. I'm a Nigerian actor. Thank you, Vanessa. Oh, that's so cool. I'm a Nigerian actor. I'm one of the leading ladies. Hi, Waje. In the Nigerian film industry. So it's really an honor to represent the media and culture category, and also to present to the under 40s. So congratulations.
Yeah, you were on this list in 2018. Yes.
Yes, like just by the skin of my teeth, I made it.
And we look forward to having you with us in New York at the UN when things go, back to a sense of normality.
Whatever normal means, but
Exactly.
it's
Thank you
but
so much.
took me back, to when that happened, and honestly, I'm such a fan of Fela Kuti. He's his philosophy really helped to shape my own activism in my own life, and just knowing that I'm African, proud of. But something that Fela always talked about was about uniting Africans. Always saying, set your mind back to Africa. So, Camille, for you to be able to have pulled this off and to connect all of us all over the world like this is really phenomenal. And you need to take a moment and just take it in. Yes, you made this happen, and we've always needed that because we've been so disconnected as a people, even though we're so powerful in our numbers. So MIPAD is just the best for us to connect, but not only connect, but let's connect and take action. We need to take action. We're doing a lot of talking, which is good because, for people who have been disconnected, even just to have a forum to talk is important. But we need to move forward because we can see the way the world is going, and we're seeing that everything is turning on its head. So now is the time to flow with that momentum. And because I'm not sure if we'll ever get another chance, the way it is now. And media and culture is a very powerful tool that we can use to project our culture positively, because the image of Africa all over the world has always been negative, and it's been deliberate. So we also deliberate about taking back our power and owning our narrative. So I'm honored to be one of the people in the forefront of making that happen. But we need to connect our industries. We need to do more of this and less of, they're over there and they're over there. It's not going to happen.
I would take you up on that. We need to bring a lot more representation in our creative industry from diaspora to the continent. We need to tell more, authentic African stories in partnership with the diaspora, Brazil, the US. I definitely would love to take you on that.
Black stories, please. Diverse Black stories.
Black Iranians. She's from Iran. I mean, come on.
Black Palestinians, Black Lebanese.
Black Asians,
absolutely.
You're Black. Be strong. We need to own this.
Absolutely.
Let's act, man. I'm talking action, man.
All right, let's go on.
Let me get back to why I'm here. So I'm really honored to present the media and culture under 40 category of MIPAD 20. Congratulations to all of you, and let's go and be great together.
Yes. Amazing list. Remarkable this year. Amazing.
Wow.
So remember, we're going to phase out the announcement because COVID changed everything, right? We do that at the UN, but now we're going to start the rollout starting from now till March 25th next year, where we're bringing this group together, the over 40s and the under 40s together. So thank you very much. What's the final category?
I think that's it. But the funny thing about March the 25th, sometimes when the stars align, that is actually my birthday.
Really?
March 25th, yes.
Oh, wow.
And also to the gorgeous Miss Akande. I'm also an actor. I've been in a few TV series and movies in China. So everything just perfectly comes together. March 25th, she's here, everyone else is here, and we're going to push the conversation forward. And like she says, more action, less talking. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
So moving on to our acceptance speeches under for the humanitarian category, I am delighted to welcome Ms. Delia Ducre, as well as Mr. Otto Orandam from respectively China and Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Hello again to everyone. My name is Delia Ducre. Let's get started. Mabrika, Sakafet, Ni Hao. Greetings, distinguished guests, world leaders, my fellow MIPADians, ladies and gentlemen, and to my colleague, Mr. Otto. My name is Delia Allura Ducre, a bilingual educational economist from the Commonwealth of Dominica, based in Beijing, China. As we reflect upon all our respective experiences learned throughout these unprecedented times, allow me to start with this quote. Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. 教育不是为生活做准备，教育本身就是生命。This pandemic has highlighted areas in which we as a world must improve and be better. Never has it been more apparent the importance of education and the fundamental role it plays in solving issues our world faces today. It is my personal belief that all systems should adapt and create. They should adopt fundamental practices that equip a country's human capital with the ability to learn, adapt, and create. We must break away from the box created by existing systems and enter an era of targeted, holistic learning. Recognizing that each human learns differently, while also equipping people with the ability to thrive in any environment. Reimagining the definition of education is now more important than before. We are a world filled with different peoples and lived experiences. This pandemic continues to highlight the importance of what it means to be a human being, highlighting that no matter your status, you can make a difference to impact a generation. As we follow the theme, representation matters, let's take the time to pause and realize one simple thing. We are all here today because of the village of people that has educated us along our respective journeys. Education continues to be the root to all societies and realities. Let's continue to nurture our gardens to thrive as one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dalia, for that. It's a pleasure doing this with you. My name is Orandam Otto, and I'm proud to be Nigerian, from Nigeria, based in Nigeria. I'm a social entrepreneur and educator, and because we believe strong in the words of one of our greatest African heroes, Nelson Mandela, that education is the greatest weapon and ammunition to liberate the people, and most especially the people of our dear continent. I founded an organization called Slum to School Africa, which has grown to become one of the leading volunteer organizations. And since in 8 years, we've supported over 107,000 children, them access to education. So it's a great honor to be recognized amongst the amazing people we have this year. Our world today is plagued with some very daunting challenges, right? Challenges that has limited us in various milestones of some of the most critical sustainable development. But across the continent of Africa, and outside the continent as well, we have lots of amazing people who have stood up as shining lights to show the world the power of who we are as Africans and how innovative we are as descendants of the African continent. Our race and our continent is filled with incredible people, great people with enormous talents and courage. And now is the time for us to go all out and challenge everyone to realize that greatness lies in us as Africans. Shakespeare said, born great, some of us achieve greatness, and some of us have greatness thrust upon us. We count on being born into greatness or have greatness thrust upon us. We should all remind our Black communities that we have the ability and the natural resources, importantly, the human resources to achieve greatness, and that greatness is within our grasp. As a year global reckoning, I want to also remind us that we are here today and together for such a time as this, a time when the world needs us much more than we imagine, a time when our people need us to stand up and speak up for those who are voiceless and hopeless. Brothers and sisters across the world face various forms of oppression, but worse off are the oppressions and the suppression that we face back at home. We have young people who are not well educated, and those who are educated and not gainfully employed. And even those who are gainfully employed are being killed by our police officers who should be protecting us. Our mothers and fathers should not and must not lose their children in the hands of those who are employed and empowered and being paid to secure us. This has to stop, and I want to also use this platform to speak up against this. Our legacy lies not in the individual successes, the power of our collaborative abilities.
1 minute left of the session.
We should see more collaboration between every one of us, from Nigeria to Brazil, Ghana to South Africa, Kenya to the United States, and of course, even the Commonwealth of Dominica. So dear honorees, may this also be much more. I want to thank the MIPAD team, Camille, Tope, and everyone for hard work there over the past months. And I want to believe that, this is the beginning of the next phase of this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Otto and Dela, for the inspiring and empowering words, grounding us in our present, but reminding us of our past. Thank you very much. Moving forward to the next segment, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Randall and Jeffrey, both authors, Dr. Randall Pinkett and Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, of Black Faces in White Places.
I want to take a moment to cue in this, the next talk. So I know Dr. Randall Pinkett from New Jersey, and he wrote a book 10 years ago titled Black Faces in White Places, 10 years ago. And I reached out to him in 2020. And the question I asked him was, what has changed in a decade? So what you're about to hear, the speech he's going to give us tonight, is his insight into 10 years of what he wrote about and what has changed and what hasn't changed from the book. So I hand it over to the studio to go ahead.
Greetings. This is Dr. Randall Pinkett, along with Dr. Jeffrey Robinson. We are the co-authors of Black Faces in White Places, 10 game-changing strategies to achieve success and find greatness. We want to first congratulate all of the honorees and those being recognized on the MIPAD Global 100 list as a part of this Most Influential People of African Descent Recognition Week. We are here not only to offer our congratulations, but we've also been asked by the organizers to offer our reflections on our book, Black Faces in White Places, in as much as we are now celebrating 10 years since the book was released. And so I've got my co-author, my business partner, who is also associate professor at Rutgers Business School, Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, here joining me. And we're going to jump in and answer 3 questions as we reflect on the book's release and the receptivity that we've had to the book. So I'll start by throwing the first question to Dr. Robinson to get our conversation started. So first question for you, Dr. Robinson, is what has been your favorite strategy from the book? And perhaps as a lead-in, you can also just talk about the 10 game-changing strategies as a concept, and then describe what has been your favorite strategy amongst the 10.
All right. Yeah, and let me add my congratulations to all of the honorees. So, Black Faces and White Places was a labor of love that you and I put together over the years. We had all kinds of versions that we thought of what this book would be or what it could be. But what it ended up being was a book where we wanted to highlight and talk about what it's like to be the one or the only one in the room, to be able to do things and to be able to function. And when we looked back at our lives, we thought about all those places where we had been the one or the only one. And so we spent one of the first chapters, introductory chapters, talking about some of the issues and problems and challenges. And then we took 10 chapters to talk about strategies that came from us and strategies that came from other people, very influential people of African descent who were people who had the same issues that we did, faced some of the same challenges, and we distilled 10, as we call them, game-changing strategies to find success and to go for greatness. So for us, it was a way for us to catalog what people have told us and what our own experience has been when we achieve success and find greatness. My favorite strategy to me, I'd say is strategy number 4, which is to think about your diverse networks, your relationships, how you cultivate those relationships and those networks. The reason I think strategy 4 is so important to the folks who read the book and for those I'm talking to is because when you build those diverse relationships, you're now being strategic. We didn't say, just randomly select people to be in network with or in connection with. No, we say build, which is strategic. It means there's some action involved. And a lot of the things that we talk about later in the book are based upon some of the foundational things that come before strategy 4. But certainly strategy 4 paves the way for you to find mentors, to find strength in numbers, to be entrepreneurial, to find that synergy and to give back. So for me, it is strategy 4, build diverse relationships.
All right. Well, piggybacking off of your response, this will come as no surprise to you, but my favorite strategy is strategy 1, hands down. It is to establish a strong identity and purpose. And I know many of you honorees, you most influential people of African descent, perhaps may be Black faces in white places, either in the past or in the present. And if not, certainly in the future. And if you've been in that situation, you know that it can be difficult when you're one of the only ones or the few in an environment, on a team, in an organization, in a department, in a company. And we believe, and we have found from our interviews to create the book, that it is knowing who you are, that's your identity, and knowing where you're going, that's your purpose, that give you the ability to withstand the challenges that inevitably come. Because your identity is your anchor, it grounds you. And your purpose is like your compass, it guides you. So when stereotypes or racism or discrimination or low expectations come, no, you know who you are and you know where you're going. And so you don't end up being a leaf in the wind when the winds of challenges begin to blow. So that's my favorite strategy. Let's go to the second question, Dr. Robinson, which is, what's been the most common point of feedback that you've received from people who've read the book?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, one of the pieces of feedback is, when are you going to write the next one? and now we're in the process of doing that. So, stay tuned for Black Faces in High Places, which is another twist on a similar theme. So, I mean, for a lot of folks, they said what you described in the book it's all the things that go through my head, and you've articulated it onto these pages, and they want more. So that's the feedback we often get.
Absolutely. So, you know, I'm interested in the feedback I've received most frequently, other than when are you writing the follow-up, and you and I have talked about this, is I've had Black people say to me, I never liked to play the game, but reading your book impressed upon me the fact that I have no choice but to play the game. And I say it more succinctly, that if you're not playing the game is playing you.
That's right.
You know, and we talk about, as you said a moment ago with Strategy 4, the importance of relationships, and that's where the game really is played. We talk about learn the game, play the game, master the game, redefine the game, but part 2, playing the game, is all about relationships. And that folks said, I don't like to do the social activities and have to schmooze and have to, you know, get to know people that I might not otherwise want to know. But my response is, as I'm sure has been your response, you know, but that's where the action is. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So I've heard that feedback perhaps most frequently from Black folk who've read the book. So third and final question is a good one to close on. What's the one thing in the book you think people have missed, or the thing you most want people to take away from the book, Dr. Robinson?
Yeah, that's a little more difficult because you know, there's so many things that you hope people see when they read the book. But you know, I also know people get distracted. They read a book and then they don't get to the end. They don't get all the richness that we put in it. So there's a part of the book which at the very end, it's the epilogue to the book, where we show how the 10 strategies and those 4 parts and these themes of success and significance intertwine. It's the very end of the book, and you know, unless you are, you know, just a page turner and you go through every single page, you can easily miss how that last little half chapter talking about how these pieces come together to create a life of significance. You could miss that and miss out on one of the golden nuggets in the book.
Good answer. Good answer. And the thing in the book that I think people may miss, you may remember we had a debate about which quote to put at the beginning of Strategy 1. And I lobbied hard for a quote which you weren't ever really sold on, but I think because you care for me and because you're my brother, you said I'm gonna give him this one, and so you gave it to me. And so the quote, and you might laugh at this because you might remember the debate. It's a lyric from Kirk Franklin's "Imagine Me," and the lyric says, "Thank you, God, for allowing me to see myself the way you see me." And you were like, I don't know if that's that deep. I said, no, that's deep. It's really deep. It's deep. I said, well, if you listen to what he's saying, thank you, God, for allowing me to see myself the way you see me. What's he saying? He's saying, again, the chapter was about identity and purpose, which is about kind of knowing who you are, like the real you, all of what you have to offer the world, and knowing what God has called you to be, like your mission, Strategy 10. So I feel like Kirk Franklin was saying, there's a way that God sees us, the true sense of who we are and what he sent us to this planet to accomplish. And that part of our journey in life is actually getting to a place where we see ourselves the same way God has always seen us. The true sense of who we are, the true sense of what we're called to do. But I pitched it, you're like, I don't know. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that now.
I feel better about it now. Let's just say that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So that's the part of the book I think people may not miss, because if you don't interrogate the lyric, you can kind of gloss over it. But I feel like if you really interrogate that lyric, then you really get the deepness of how it is a way of setting you up for what you read in Strategies 1 and 2. So there you have it, folks. You know, these are our reflections on Black Faces in White Places, 10 game-changing strategies to achieve success and find greatness. I'm thankful to my co-author, my brother, my business partner, and Associate Professor at Rutgers Business School, Dr. Jeffrey Robinson. We are also both thankful to the nonprofit foundation working in partnership with the United Nations and the African Union for their sponsorship of this most influential people of African descent recognition week, and the overarching theme, which is so timely, of global reckoning, representation matters. The last thing I'll say is, Dr. Robinson, you want to give one final plug for the follow-up book we're about to put on bookshelves in 2021, and then we'll close it out.
That's right. Coming up in the first quarter of 2021, we've got Black Faces in High Places. We are so excited to be able to bring the follow-up. So much has happened in 10 years, and there are certainly some things that we can learn from some of the people who have been influential and who are of African descent.
Awesome, awesome. So go get your copy of the original, the first part of the two-part series, Black Faces in White Places, 10 Game-Changing Strategies to Achieve Success and Find Greatness. And again, congratulations to all the honorees. We are proud of you. We expect great things from you. And as we continue to celebrate this year-long celebration of global reckoning, we are just grateful for this opportunity to be a part of the celebration. Thank you all. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the program. Take care.
Thank you, studio, for this very inspiring video. On to you, Camille, for closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you all enjoy that. And to Dr. Pinkett's point, many of you, MIPAD honorees, most influential all over the world, you are usually that one black face in, wide spaces. And it's very important that you know that this community is a safe space for you to be a part of, for us to build a collective that can support us in reducing that isolation that you feel when you are that lone black person in an unexpected place or position. My final words tonight, deeply from my heart, is a word of gratitude to the team. At some point in 2020, I didn't think we would be here, that this would happen, but we forged ahead against all odds to be here, to pull the world together, because we know how important this work is. And I ask that we all continue to work together to fulfill the missions and the vision and the mission of MIPAD, which begins, number one, with identifying and highlighting Black excellence all over the world. And the second is to connect that group together. And thirdly is to develop that group for greatness. So I hope, as we have unveiled our Global Reckoning edition, that those who made the list, especially those at the highest positions in the world, this is a first step in reducing the isolation that you would feel being that lonely Black person in these high places. So I want to say congratulations to the class of 2020. Today was just an announcement. Now we'll begin the rollout of your recognition into March 25th. I know, Lloyd, you're excited about that. And we look forward to building a community, with you. The most important thing I want to leave you here with is this. What does it mean to be a MIPADian? You see, I have to acknowledge that there's only one MIPAD organization, but there are 1.2 billion Africans of African descent out there. So there's a limitation for us as an organization within the 10 years of the decade to identify all of the most influential people of African descent. So I want you to see being a MIPAD, and what it means is to be a person who's using your influence to stand up for the rights and the protection of the civil liberties of people of African descent. Right? So it's a lifestyle. Being a MIPADian is, using that influence. You can see Naomi Osaka and what she has done. You can see Colin Kaepernick, people of African descent standing for what is right for us to build a more equitable world. So that's what it means to be a MIPADian, right? So do not wait for us to officially recognize you for you to begin to do that work. But for those we do recognize, and for those who are honorary MIPADians by birth or by deed, we love you, and we're here to continue to be a part of your support system. So with that said, I'd love to hand over to our host and also our COO. A big thank you to the team. I love you. I know we've pushed hard to get here. I want to say thank you to our partners, and we're definitely looking forward to greater years ahead. Thank you very much.
Wow, Camille. How can Lloyd and I continue incredible torch by closing tonight? This
Ladies
gathering.
first. Ladies first.
I am absolutely in awe by this initiative, Camille, and also the whole team, but also the leadership training, everybody attending, not just my fellow peers, but those before me, and more importantly for me, those coming after me, my children, my 2 daughters, my son, but also the children of their children. And I can't help myself but quote Frantz Fanon, from Black Skins, White Masks. Now we have Black faces in white places. As we know, Frantz Fanon, the West Indian author, critical thinker, who had said that each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its purpose, mission, fulfill it, or betray it. And I am so inspired tonight to see that we're fulfilling it. Thank you so much for having me being a part of this and for co-hosting.
We thank you. You've been amazing tonight. What a weekend it has been. And I want to thank you, Priscilla, because we are connected in more ways than one. You know that, right?
Yeah.
You know. First of all,
I know David very well. He was at my house a couple months ago, the Minister of Education from Sierra Leone. The world is
right, yes. Small. Wow.
Small.
The small world. I want to thank, first of all, Camille and the MIPAD crew for putting this together. It's been an amazing weekend. I've met so many different people, learned so many different things. I discovered things about myself that I had no clue. For example, the session we had, the workshop was perfect. So thank you guys for putting this all together. I really appreciate that. And all the honorees as well, congratulations. You deserve this, you worked hard, especially to my Blackinese sister, my Chinese Black sister, Delia. She's a hard worker. Being Black in China has many challenges. She and I go through the same things every day. We live in the same city of Beijing. So her struggle is my struggle. So I definitely can relate to her. So congrats to her. She deserved that. And also, I just want to say I love you guys. I love all of you. And thank you so much for having me as your host. I'm so humbled by the experience. And I'm looking forward to March 25th, where we can all congregate and once again be a happy family. Let's push this thing forward and let's continue to bless each other. Thank you so much. I'm deeply appreciative. And you guys have a lovely evening.
Fantastic. Tope, on to you. Let's get a group picture going.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Can everybody turn on their videos? Please, we would like to take a Zoom picture.
Video
it's a new num.
Video time.
Yeah.
Let's turn on all your videos.
We're about to go to after party.
There is an after party. Let's not
Oh
forget.
yeah, the after party.
Yes, there's an after party. So the Zoom will be on for another hour or so. Listen to some global African music of African descent. So stay tuned for that. It'll be fun.
Okay.
Thank you. All videos on now. Everybody got it? We ready?
I think we're ready to go.
All right, and go, Camille. Over to you. Let's go. Put on your smiley
countdown.
face.
Do the countdown. Do the countdown.
But okay,
the smiley
5,
face.
4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Got it. All right.
Good job. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. And thank you. A big thank you to David. David stayed on. One of our senior executives stayed on. Thank you so much, David, for staying with us.
Yes, David, if you can stay a little more.
It's my pleasure. I have to tell you, I am incredibly proud of all of you. And I can say that because, I have all this gray hair. But I couldn't turn it off. I'm really proud of what you're doing. And I'm especially proud of our connection to Africa, African descent. It means the world. I mean, I just have to tell you. And so I'm just proud.
So David, when COVID is over, we are inviting you officially to Africa.
To the UN.
Pick any country, even to Africa, pick any country. We're inviting you and everybody else. You got to make that trip. Have you ever been?
Okay,
David?
I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right, cool. We'll stay connected.
I'll say it in Chinese. 欢迎你,欢迎你,欢迎你 in Chinese.
Yeah, that's
welcome.
Welcome.
Absolutely.
Come. Yes.
Wow.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody. All right. So after party. What's
after
the
party
plan?
transitioning? Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Over to
Nina.
you, studio.
All right.